And we're back. It's the SPN Show. I'm here with the Mr. California, Suneet Agarwal, and Preston Guyton, Mr. Digital. All things point to easy home search. How you guys doing?
Good, man. How are you?
All things do point to easy home search. Let me tell you, is on my coaching calls this week, I brought up that website every day.
If it were up to Preston, every website on the planet would have a link back to easy home search.
Yeah. They should do that. 100%.
Well,
if you're listening, we'll give you free content for a link.
and this is kind of a Pop-Tart episode out of the response we got. We get a little bit of feedback like, hey guys, you should do another podcast. And then that's all I need to say. Preston, Suneet, jump on. Let's roll.
Let's go. Good. Well, I still have our Nick and Suneet mastermind on my calendar every Friday.
That's right. So this is a perfect time. And we thought we would go around the horn, right round, and get to know each other, backgrounds, business backgrounds, insights, and see where it takes us. I'm sure pure gold is going to come out of it. So with that being said, Preston, kick it off. Put Suneet on the hot seat.
Okay, sure. Good.
Suneet's on the hot seat.
So
I love these questions.
Yeah, Suneet. So where did it all start? In real estate. I want you to go too far back. Like
I graduated college and I lived in this town called Chico, which is about 2 hours away, party school, and I didn't want to leave. So I said, I'll come here during the week and do jobs and get it figured out. I had a bachelor's in management, information systems, and business. And the first job opportunity I was able to get was doing door-to-door 1099 business sales, telling businesses to like switch to AT&T or buy water. I don't know which one it was. It was brutal, right? And it was a bunch of 1099 independent contractors struggling business to business, wearing a suit. It was hot as hell in Sacramento. I was walking down Fulton Boulevard suit, making no money. You only got like $15 every time you sign somebody anyway. And I go into like a Togo's to get lunch. And I see one of my boys I grew up with. He goes, what are you doing? I was all door to door, dude. This shit sucks. I just graduated college. And he goes, well, I just got a mortgage. And there is AmeriQuest. For those of you that don't know, AmeriQuest was a big major subprime lender. And they had a wholesale side called Argent and a resale side called AmeriQuest. They had branches all over the country doing mortgages for people, refinances. And they did so many refinances that they started this center here called Portfolio Retention. And at the time, there was 20 branches in this building. It got up to like 60 branches. And they would just fill them full of young guys, teach them how to hammer the phones. And anytime a mortgage holder of AmeriQuest pulled their credit, we would get a lead. Now, they gave that same lead to every dude in that building, every employee. So these people got hammered, bro. And it was a real quick way to learn sales and real estate. And it made Sacramento kind of like a hub for this because we were constantly training. There's like 1,500 loan officers that worked in that building, constantly training loan officers here. So that was where I got my foot in the door. The first 2 months sucked. The third month, I was telling my dad, who was still around at the time, how bad it sucked. And he was big into personal development. I don't know how much he ever implemented or got out of it, but he was big into it. So that foundation has helped me in hindsight. However, he gave me Tony Robbins, dude. And I listened to it driving home from San Jose to Sacramento from seeing him. And then that month I was like top person in my branch.
Really?
Right. And for me, it was never about, this is interesting. You guys are going to kick out of this. A lot of people were really big phone savages in that building. I wasn't. I was a savage at calling all these local branches all over the U.S. and becoming friends with every single loan officer and sending them pizzas and shit, sending them steak dinners to whenever any of their clients, because they weren't allowed to refinance their same people again. So when everyone was refinancing back then every year, right? It was easy money. So they would just call me with deals. And I just compounded it and just got to the top, right?
Wow. Is there anything you learned during that time period that you think about or institute or implement in your business now? Or how you train your people?
Dude, great question. And Preston's heard me talk about this. Is one of my talks, one of my presentations, I just did it for Preston's Connection conference in Myrtle Beach, which was amazing. So shout out to Preston, who's here. So they had these cool screens up there, but
he's already planning Connection.
He was planning it that same day, bro. I was all, aren't you tired? But I just looked through my watch for those of you listening. But after AmeriQuest, I left and joined a more local gig, right? And the branch manager of the local gig ended up becoming one of my good friends and getting me into real estate years later. Let me tell you how it's relative to my business to this very damn day. Is when we joined this operation, sent out direct mail to homeowners from wholesale lending. They never said who the bank was. Probably not legal anymore. Send out letters saying, "Hey, rates are down. You should refinance." And they spent a bunch of money on mail, and our phones just blew up. App. And in the beginning, I would pitch a credit pull on every first call I could. There was no CRM. There was no process. There was no follow-up. There was that many leads. If I did take notes, it would be on whatever piece of friggin' scratch paper had a doodle on it on my desk. Maybe the calendar from the title rep, right? And I was still, through bludgeoning my way through it, being hungry, being motivated, was able to be successful at it. How many opportunities did I miss by just never entering shit for years? So it tells you the importance. That's why I started this, this 4 pillars of lead generation out with this. Is I have to this day regret to my failure to have a great process in that moment. I still have regret. How much freaking money did I leave on the table? I never want to have a regret about leaving money on the table again.
Because you realize what you missed out on so far ahead in life when you get the opportunity to look back and go, wait a second, I had all those leads. Like, how many leads did you have access to in the late 2000s?
Dude,
early
the
10.
phone never stopped ringing with these mail. It was insane.
Oh man. So Suneet, let's put Preston on the hot seat. I love that background, and we're going to pick up from that mortgage. That's some good stuff. Where to begin for you, Preston?
Yeah.
So I live in Myrtle Beach, so a second, tourism place. Early on, I started in the restaurant industry. So started in restaurant, bussing tables, going to school, waiting tables, bar manager, and the market. A good friend of mine at the time got into real estate, and I saw what he was able to do. And then one of the managers at a restaurant I used to work at was in real estate. So I got into real estate because of that. And it was, really money, right? I was seeing how much money the friend of mine was making. I'm like, man, I need to get into real estate. I always enjoyed sales as well. I mean, I've always been in it, but that was kind of what got me motivated. And that was my first professional job, was real estate. Not the restaurant industry isn't a professional. I was, bar manager and working at a restaurant and help do all that. But it was my first job was real estate, and still is today.
And so when you got into real estate, did you ever take a break from that or go venture away, get distracted, or was successful in other areas?
Yeah.
Well,
So,
you just been selling real estate since 2004.
well, no. It's I've been in the real estate profession in some way, some fashion. So I got into sales at first. I mainly did land sales, and then I got my contractor's license in 2006. Started building spec houses. Made a
That
lot
was
of
a
money.
good time to do it.
Yeah, made a lot of money. It might have been 2005. Made a lot of money, and then because like our market didn't really get crushed until like 07, 08, and then ended up losing all the money. So I got my contractor's license, had my residential builder's license, which I still have today. And then so I was fumbling around, like just got married and just had a baby. I'm like, what am I going to do now? Real estate is awful. So I opened a construction and real estate and design company in 2010. Over the next 10 years, we built over 200 to 300 custom homes and sold real estate. So we did about over $1 billion in business from 2010 to 2020 in sales. But yeah, I got into construction. So like right now I have my mortgage license, my real estate license, my broker's license, my NASCLA, my NASCLA general contractor's license in 27 states. I'm probably the most licensed person you'll ever meet.
You might be, dude. So, and I knew that you were a GC, but do you ever build shit?
No, that is no. It's
Like you don't even build a shed. Like we were talking about building a shed in your backyard.
no,
They didn't even do that.
no, man. I'm the more design. Like I used to hand draw the plans. I'd hand draw the designs when we first started. So I've always been like, even back in the day, like I grew up in, like always had art class, was in art, 3, 4 in high school. So I've always been on the artistic side, and just I handled a lot of the design, the interior design on it as well. So but yeah, it was fun. It just became such a nightmare with code. Permitting chain code became so hard, and then you start getting those letters 8 or 9 years later that somebody's suing you from a house you built 9 or 10 years ago, and you had a good relationship with them. So instead of reaching out and saying, "Hey, we have this issue," all of a sudden you get a letter in the mail that somebody's suing you. And so that for me was when I was like, it's time for me to move on. And it just wasn't fun. I may enjoyed it, but it when that starts happening, and it's one of those things, like I've always been good in the computer technology world, and construction is so dependent on the weather. It's dependent on so much things you cannot control. You can't control subcontractors for the most part. You can't control the weather. There's just so many different things that you can have bad months, and it's nothing that you could have got away from. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of how I got into real estate. Was, saw a buddy of mine making money.
Every part of it.
Yeah, now, yeah. So yeah, and then 2020, I brought in a mortgage company in our market, and realized in a year and a half I wasn't a big fan of the mortgage industry. So,
what did you like about it?
It's just a different sale, man. It's just not, like it's much harder to generate leads to convert. So, I like the real estate side, where the mortgage side, it's like your customer is the real estate agent. So like, it's like you got to be a cheerleader and do all these things and everything else. I'm not willing to do that. Like, it's just,
well, let me ask you, like, did you ever try and drive organic traffic, like through Google, to a mortgage site for like mortgage tools or lead magnets or shit?
That's why Easy Home Search was built, to generate mortgage leads. So into 2019, I started it, generated mortgage leads. The Revolution branch we brought here in 2021 was the #1 branch in the country. But it just wasn't fun. I've always loved real estate. I've always loved everything about real estate. So it was just, to me, it doesn't matter how much money you make. I mean, if I'm not enjoying, if I'm like,
it doesn't.
I mean, it does. Yeah, no, not really.
Well, there's something about making money, and there's something about making money consistently,
something you can enjoy,
or losing money. See, mortgage feels to me like you can make a lot, but it also can go slam shut,
like right now, or
like right now. And then the way
I mean,
psychologically,
I'm making money off mortgage with no expenses right now.
oh, good for you.
Thanks.
you're not the norm though, right?
Yeah,
So
but
Yeah, sure.
how do you guys, Preston, talking about ancillaries or building? How do you determine whether or not your focus is being distracted away from your primary goal or your core business, or is it actually an opportunity worth pursuing? And there's kind of a follow-up
podcast right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I just enjoy spending time with y'all. So it's a good way to end the week.
But is there anything what do you use in your construction business that you use today that you learned?
Well,
lead gen, marketing.
No, really that was a big reason why I was looking at. I was like, hey, I want to, because I was looking at the construction business and real estate and design. There was a need there, and what I saw was there was no, in 2010 there was no construction companies doing lead gen at a high level. They weren't. So I was like, hey, none of them had really a website, so I built a amazing website and did all these things and generated a ton of leads. And I mean, I was in business 2 years and signed the contract to build $1 million beach house, and I'd never built one before. So it was using a lot of the things that I learned in lead gen to build and market that construction company through social media and everything else, at the time. So that was used a lot of the things in real estate for as far as now construct. There's really not much I do today.
What would you tell an agent that's never done a spec home who comes to you and says, Preston, I'm thinking about doing a spec home because that's where all the money's at?
Yeah,
I mean, we see it all the time. Our agents, they want to chase the big check.
Yeah, I mean, I explained to them I explained to them what could potentially happen, right? And I explained to them the downside of, if the market was to change, or, how does that look as far as, who is the builder going to be responsible for those complaints, that punch list, that warranty, what does that look like? And explain to them too, just because they don't have their contractor's license, it doesn't mean they can't be sued.
But Nick, that's a question for you, because you do a bunch of real estate stuff too. You ever done any spec homes?
I've never done a spec home. No. I've done subdivisions. I've done land development. I've done land development, hard money, lease options, owner carried contracts. I've done a lot of crazy stuff, but never a spec home.
Yeah,
land development.
I fixed and flipped, which is speculation, right? You're buying a home based on a speculation that you could sell it, but not based on any speculation of upside. Like, I'm going to do something about it. But the thing about fix and flip is, talking about control, is I'm trying to get it done as fast as possible. And it's a shorter sales cycle than a spec can be. Like, you think it's 4 months, right, Preston? But what happens when it's 12 months?
Yeah, what happens when it rains for freaking 2 months? Right?
Yeah. And so the risk on the spec, I just never got into it, but I thought about it.
Land development's good though. I've been a part of a lot of, not funded land development, but as far as the sales side, like when I first got into real estate, well, not first, I focused on homes and selling homes, but then I got into selling a lot of land, where like we go into these developments, they would do these pre-releases, and I would sign 12 or 15 contracts for people buying land, paying 5% commission on $100,000 to $150,000 purchase price. And those are great. And the good thing about land development, your liability is limited, where like if you're doing construction, your liability is massive. I mean, on the construction side they could always find something. There's not one house built where they cannot be sued. If they're going to dig, like they'll hire an attorney, then they'll send an engineer in there, and they're going to find something. The shingle doesn't have so many nails like it's supposed to. The nailing pattern on the siding is not exactly to the specifications of the manufacturer. So anytime you look at any house, there is no house out there that's built perfect where they won't be.
It comes down to risk mitigation a little bit. You understanding your risk.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, well, let's get back to backgrounds.
All right.
I got to learn more about you
your
guys.
turn.
My turn.
Your turn.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, my real estate career is kind of interesting because I went to school at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University to go to become a pilot.
What's the name of the school you went to?
Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Daytona. And I went there after my undergraduate, went there for a master's degree because I thought being a pilot would be really, really fun. And it turns out it's a lot of travel. Like you're always traveling. But you're never vacation. You never get to vacation, but you're always traveling. And so it's actually quite miserable, So
what did you think it was going to be like?
I don't know. Because during college, I was a wildland firefighter. Then I went to.
Did you think you wanted to be like a fighter pilot?
I don't know. I don't know what I thought, but I also
Yeah, everybody does.
So I got laid off. I got furloughed. So I got laid off. I was home for a while. I could live anywhere in the world. We chose Wenatchee because my wife got a job. I got laid off a second time. And I was like, dang, this is going to happen a lot in my career. I didn't think that was going to happen. So then I went back into the field and I was flying again. And there was rumors that the airline's going to shut down. This is 2008. It's 2007. The airline's going to shut down. And I needed something to fall back on. And what's the easiest thing to get into? Real estate. So I was sick in Bangkok. I got sick in Dubai, landed in Bangkok, and I was out for 9 days. I signed up for online courses and got my real estate license in Bangkok. When I got home, I talked to the only broker I knew, and he hired me. And actually, I wrote it. I remember writing it out. I go, okay, because in the airline industry, you have a seniority number. You know exactly how much you're going to make every single year. And they make you retire at age 60, right? So I was 28 years old. So I figured out how much I was going to make. And I remember it was $3.71 million over the next 30 years, right? Plus pension. So I went to my broker and I said, do you think I can make more than this in real estate? 3.7 million. And he goes, yeah, you can. I said, great, I'm in. So I signed up and that's how I got into real estate, and I don't know about you guys, but I didn't have any money. I didn't have any runway for my first sale at all. So I ended up having to sell I had a 2001 Volvo 850T red. It was pretty sweet. Had to sell that so I could have enough money. I bought a 1984 Subaru GL wagon, spray painted it green. That's what I was trying for the first year.
You spray painted it?
No, yeah, spray painted it green. And just so I had some money in the bank account until I made that first sale. I don't know about you guys.
I think my anniversary of my first sale was 2 days ago. So I've been an agent for 9 years.
Wow. You reminded me, you said something, Suneet, it was kind of interesting. Like you had some regrets about the opportunities. I kind of said the same thing. If I could go back and start over again, I would keep track of every single person I talked to. You know what I mean? I'd capture their name, number, email. And I've done a really good job of that in the last 10 years, but not the first 5. I mean, if you were going to start over again, Suneet, what would you do different?
I mean, the whole thing is like, I think in anything, you need your list, right? How often do we talk about our list? You need your list of people that you're nurturing, some type of relationship with. I don't give a shit. Like you said, like, yes, you should use a CRM. If you're not, maybe you're listening to the wrong podcast. But
we'll do a podcast on CRM. It'll be the lowest
I don't
rated, the
think we
most
need
impactful.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be the shortest. Is just nurture that list. Nurture it. Build it.
Because
nurture it.
What I also found too, and Preston, I want to get your thought on it. These leads, they really don't have expiration dates, right? A list from 2005 that you worked is so valuable right now. You don't have no idea if you want to go back into it. I think the recency bias, like the newness, the novelty of a new lead, I don't know.
What about you? I mean, the leads, like, especially for us, the leads that go to appointment or go to contract are like average probably 18 months, right? This whole, I mean, and most people give up after a week, 2 weeks. So, for us, because we're in a secondary market, so ours are probably going to be a little longer than others, but it's, I'm the same way though. Like I think back, like the first house I sold was an open house. So I was doing open houses for agents in the office. I'm like, anybody need an open house? I'll sign up. I'll do it. I was still working in a bar till like 2 a.m. and showing up at Caldwell Banker with a suit and tie at 7 a.m., 7:30. And I'm like, hey, I'll do open houses on the weekends. And the first house I sold was a couple that came in. It was raining. It was terrible weather. It was like November and it was cold, unseasonably cold for here. And they came in. I'm like, just got talking to him. Like, yeah, we've been trying to reach out to the agent that we set an appointment up with, and he won't call us back. So it was like a weekend, young couple. They ended up buying something, but that was my
open house.
First sale was open house for another agent. They ended up buying a different property. But I'm thinking about that, like you say, list. Like I don't know where they're at. They were a younger couple. They're probably early 40s now, mid 40s. Have probably making a lot.
My first client that I just closed, that I celebrated the anniversary. I go to their house every year for New Year's Day and drink a shit ton of Bloody Marys. He makes a real good one, and like that's my boy. We go to concerts, so
yeah. These people I didn't know. They moved.
You would like it.
Yeah, they moved it. So this was 19 years ago.
I'm dying to ask Preston about partnerships and teaming up with people, but it may be Suneet, you too. But
don't ask me about it.
Yeah, but that first sale, your first, second sale, I remember those people too, and I let them know, and they love knowing that they know me and they help me get there. It's like
I never let anybody know.
Really?
I never let anybody know. And I doubt that they'll listen to this podcast.
Yeah, they're going to listen to the podcast. One of my first sales is kind of crazy was an agent didn't answer the phone, just like you, Preston. It's like that rebound. You get that rebound or you get right place at the right time. I don't know what it is. The U.S. Marshals called. The U.S. Marshals seized the property for drug trafficking. And I don't know how they found my name, but they couldn't get a hold of the other agent. And so that was my first listing, was the U.S. seized property, drug trafficking. And it had a rock wall. It was 5 acres. It had a rock wall, 6 feet tall they built. And I sold that thing for $120,000 and made $3,000 commission check. And I swear people were calling me at night, ringing my phone. It was crazy. Yeah, and I remember who I sold that to. But Preston, Suneet, partnerships, do or don't. How do you team up in an industry where you're not supposed to team up? Like teaming up meaning not necessarily a team, but business relationships. We're teaming up on this podcast.
Operating agreement, fucking dial. Don't think anything.
Yeah. Have everything in writing.
Everything in writing.
No, really though. It doesn't. It could be friends. It could be not friends. Some partnerships work and some don't. I don't think there's a perfect partnership out there where somebody said, "Oh, I know that one's going to work out." I mean, you have people that have friends like, Josh and Nick are friends of mine and partners in Palms Realty, and it works out great because we all know what we're good at and know where we're supposed to be. And that was a big thing when I sat down and had this conversation was, I built the structure and everything of what everything needs to be and where we're going, who we need to hire, when we hire, and all those things. And any business can work if you have structure. The problem, most businesses fail because there's no structure there. Like we already had things in place when we opened the door. We already had marketing suite done. We had all these things done. And that's the main thing. Like most businesses, and you see it coaching, like there's a lot of businesses out there with zero structure. They're just flying around chasing fires and putting out fires and not actually working on the business, just working on whatever fire arises, and that's where they go. So, I mean, for me, it's whether it's a partnership or an individual or your sole proprietor, whatever it is, none of it's going to work if you don't have a solid plan and a solid structure, systems and everything else.
Dude,
I'm thinking about everything that you said.
Preston mentioned struggle. Where do you struggle the most in the real estate game industry business?
I don't struggle.
You just mindset.
You just win.
Where's the challenges?
I mean, the challenges I think are the same, and I don't mean to hijack your answer, Suneet, but I think the challenges are the same, and it's dealing with different personalities. Especially when you're growing your team and you have a big team, you got 100 agents, 150 agents, whatever the number is, dealing with so many personality traits and problems and issues, and I mean, you need to be part psychologist. I mean. You're going to get a lot of different things coming at you all the time.
I think my only challenge is having time to do everything I want to do.
Yeah, being available.
I don't care about being available.
No, available for yourself too, though.
Yes, for myself. Yesterday I told you guys, it was my eldest daughter Serena's birthday. It's a special day for me, and I was done at like 2. Half plan, and I thought about it. I said, I could relax, spend time with my family, or I could work. And if I do choose to relax, I need to make the conscious effort right now that I'm going to be okay with that. I couldn't make that decision, so I went back to work. But I think having those internal monologues and doing like what you think is best. Preston and I were talking, and like, I missed a workout this week. I felt dumb, but also I felt really good too. So I think acknowledging those feelings, and I like to push myself harder than everybody because I'm a fucking sicko, but it's okay to not push yourself too, and just be okay with that. Getting real for the listeners, but
I mean, not everybody's the same. Some people are okay. They want a job where they're 8 to 5, 9 to 5, and it's consistent. And, real estate is, Nick and I were talking before you hopped on, with real estate, you're going to give, there's 2 things. You could spend a lot of money in getting into real estate, and you could spend a lot of time as well, or you'll do both, but you're either giving up a lot of money or a lot of time. If you don't have money yet, you're going to give up a lot of time to have success. And there's just
that's how it is in everything, money or time. Which one do you have more of?
There's not,
it's to me, it's when do you have the choice? See, Suneet, you had the choice. Do I work more or do I relax? And you got to make a choice. And to me, that's a freedom too, is you have the ability to make a choice and be okay with it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. For us, we're sickos. I like having the ability to choose to work more often than not. Like if you're 9 to 5, you can't go to your boss and say, I want to work more. I tried that. I was like, hey, I want overtime. Nope, not approved. Okay.
Yeah.
That wasn't my personality.
Yeah. That's where the entrepreneurial like side hustle stuff can come into too. But I mean, if for the listeners, the viewers, like I think that choice management thing, being able to have the choices, not to quote John, but there you friggin' go. It's when you can get those choices is when that's good. It's good. It's freedom.
Yeah. And I found some freedom in like being okay, embracing the fact that I just like to build stuff, go after stuff, hunt stuff, create stuff, work. And you know what I mean? Because there was so much of that life balance that was happening in the 2000s, late 2010s. It's still out there too, with life balance. And I don't know if that's a myth or what, or it's just a theory, or it's idealistic.
Total myth.
Yeah. So, but there's something to be said about time management, choice management, and choosing to be with your daughter, choosing to work. And when you make that choice and you know what you're giving up, you can go all in. You can go as hard as you want.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like tomorrow morning, I'll sit on the couch with my kids. My wife will hopefully get to sleep in a bit, and we'll watch some dumb shit, and I'll drink coffee, and that'll be good. That'll be my choice. Saturday morning, 2 hours. Yeah.
So what cartoons are you watching?
They got Bluey is on a lot, and I like Bluey. How about you, Nick?
Funny.
It's funny, but I've seen every episode probably 842 times, so it's not funny
anymore. Yeah. You'll miss. My kids don't watch cartoons anymore, so they're beyond cartoons.
Are they watching like the kids playing video games on YouTube? Because I hate that.
Yeah.
No, they well, one of my 10-year-old who's going to be, I think he has like 2 or 3 YouTube. His birthday was Wednesday. It's funny. Your birthday was March 3rd. My daughter's birthday is March 3rd. My son's birthday is March 15th. But he's got 2 or 3 YouTube channels. Like one's called like Beatboxing Blueberries or something. Just ridiculous. But he's like he's that kid, right? Like he's like watches me. He's like, Daddy, you're, and somebody, it was funny. They're like, kids watch everything you do. And somebody asked me, he's like, who's your favorite YouTuber? Because he watches Mr. Beast. He goes, well, Daddy, sure. But then Mr. Beast is, so he's like, wanting a YouTube channel, and, which is great. So where, the new office I'm moving into, I'm building have a desk for him. I got a mic coming in. I'm going to set it up.
Sweet.
So he could come in there in the summer and just hang out. But
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about your guys' timelines, but to kind of round it out, is there like, sure. Let's go around. Is there a podcast other than our podcast? By the way, subscribe to our podcast. Is there a podcast, book, resource you'd recommend, or that had the biggest impact on your career?
I was a real estate agent, and Dan Herbert, who's still on my team, told me about a podcast. I was like, what the hell is a podcast? I heard of it. How do you listen to it? And he got me, I found out how to listen to it. And the podcast I started listening to was Joshua Smith, Get Shit Done, the GSD mode, which is also the first place I was introduced to Chet. And then I learned about Pat Hyben's Real Estate Rockstars.
Right.
Over the next year. Now, for those of you who are listening and not watching, there's guitars behind me, amps. I'm a music guy. I've been in bands. I love music. My whole life I've been playing music. I quit listening to music. And I said, I'm going to go all in and consume all of this content from Pat Hyben. So I did. So Real Estate Rockstars. I don't think it needs to be that. I think it needs to be something like music, sports radio, all this shit that you listen to is bubblegum for your brain. Turn it off.
Yeah.
Listen to it maybe on the weekend or something, right? Or listen to it, but listen to something because information is accessible. I grew up listening to Zig Ziglar thanks to my dad. We talked about that earlier. Automobile University, right? Like he was telling traveling salespeople to consistently listen. You can get a college, bachelor's from listening to listening to tapes in the car. As far as book goes,
what you listen to?
Book. Hang on, goddammit.
This is good stuff. This is good stuff.
The one book that every real estate professional, sales professional needs to listen to is Creating Sales Velocity, Matthew Ferry. It's 2 hours, 40 minutes long. Matthew Ferry, Mike Ferry's son. It is complete. You have to listen to it because you can't read it because it's 2 hours and 40 minutes of Mike Ferry dropping NLP on your ass. I have agents who listen to that book every day. Creating Sales Velocity. Guess what? Mike Ferry released it as a lead magnet, like in the early 2000s.
Wow.
But it's the best. Like talk to Pipes about what was the name of his thing, right? Like
NLP.
So
that's interesting. So Preston, your book, podcast resource, and do you also not listen to the radio, car university?
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't listen to. I'll listen to the music that I listen to in the cars when I take the kids to school.
Right.
So we listen to a Christian station. It's called The Message. But like when I run in the morning or when I work out, if I'm working out by myself, I listen to Audible books. Like the last week, I've been listening to Endure Again by Cameron Haynes. So the second time I'm listening to
Preston's favorite book.
No, one of my favorite books is actually Fear Hunters by Noah Elias.
Yeah.
He was actually supposed to speak at John's event in Canada before COVID.
I remember.
Super excited to hear him speak, and obviously it was canceled. But that book for me, like was really, really good. Like that was Fear Hunters. It was a really good book. I think I bought it for like 10 or 15 different people.
You didn't buy it for me. Send me a copy. You got my address.
I'll send you a copy too.
No,
actually, I think I have like 10 copies, but it's not on Audible. Yeah, so you actually have to pick it up and read it. But it was
I read that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember he's going to have him come up and speak, so I read that one leading up.
And then there's the other ones like the one, was it The One Thing? I think it's behind me.
Yeah.
Gary Keller. Yeah.
Gary Keller. That's a really, really good book, because I think people, like you look at, and obviously I've learned a lot of different things since then, but what I focused on in 2004 that I got really good at, I'm still doing, still doing. And if I look back at the things that I probably wish I would have done, I wish I would have spent more time like prospecting and learning phone skills early on, and learn the importance of that, where that's something that, because I was behind the computer doing all those things, right? And I was still calling the leads when they came in, but I never really did any like training, phone skill training and all that. So if I had to go back and do it, that would be something I would focus on for sure, is spending the amount of time and understanding how important prospecting is and how important phone skills are and NLP and all those things. Yeah. And that's a big reason why, like Palms Realty, that's why we put so much pressure on those agents, the newer agents. We put them through that training because I understand how important it is.
Yeah, I think we put a lot of effort. We put a lot of emphasis in real estate on the action component, prospect, phones, calls, the numbers game. And it is, because it's sales, right? And if you can't ever pick it up, it doesn't matter how good you are. But yeah, you got to be a student of sales, psychology, NLP, human relationships, psychology. And so if you guys were asking me my book, there's a couple. One, Suneet and I talk about all the time, Influence, Robert Cialdini, Influence. Cialdini. And he's on podcasts too, Cialdini. He's on tons of podcasts. Look him up.
Yeah, you listen to that book. You read that book every year, right?
Every year. There's a couple books. One, BE 2.0, Beyond Entrepreneurship, Jim Collins.
Motivational Manifesto is a good one. I've read that one like I don't know how many times, 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, that's a good question, more than once. And then if you want to get the holy grail of human psychology, it's Daniel Kahneman, Thinking Fast and Slow. Really, Cialdini took one chapter and wrote a book about it. And this book is like the Nobel Prize winning textbook. And it's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. I would read that one every year, but it's like 1,000 pages. And so that one's like central.
I gotta get that.
It's central to my
thinking. Have
y'all read
Cialdini's next book, Persuasion?
I have. Yeah, absolutely.
I haven't. I haven't read it. Look, I got books everywhere.
Yeah. Have you read Building the Story Brand?
I have it. But I
Yes.
haven't read it.
Yes.
That is a
Yes.
good one.
That's
Donald
a good
Miller,
Donald Miller.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
a really good book.
Donald Miller. That's a good one. Yeah, I read Persuasion too. You know, controlling the pre-frame, controlling the anchor, controlling the thought. You know, Preston talked about control a couple times today. You know, we're in an industry that is seemingly uncontrollable, like so many variables out of our control, but we really focus on what we can control.
Yeah.
And that's our message, our marketing. What do you think you're in control of, Preston, in our industry?
Well, I mean, really, the biggest thing I have control over is my morning. Every single morning is the same. Everything,
Yeah.
what I do in the morning is the same. Because the thing is, the only way to create predictability within this business is have control of your schedule. So for me, like I'm up every day at 4:15. I work out at a certain time because I got young kids. I got a business I got to keep up with. I exercise because I want to be as good as I can be in this business. And if I'm out of shape and huffing and puffing going up the stairs, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. So, when you look at it, like for me, like the working out is obviously I want to be in shape, but is also like imagine you see the person that's out of shape and has a successful business. What are they able to do if they're healthy in peak shape? What could they do in that business? So for me, it's the one thing I do have control over is my morning schedule, which allows me to pick my kids up from school when I want to. It allows me to go to, the golf match with my son when I want to. So that's a big reason and a big part of why my schedule is the way it is.
Are you pretty regimented like that too? You got rituals, Suneet? What do you
Oh yeah.
control?
I mean, morning, absolutely. My morning is dialed. Fitness is super important. I have my little morning gratitude practice that I really enjoy. I start talking to you guys like within 5 minutes of being awake usually. And I wake up early, but Preston's on the East Coast, and we all wake up early anyway. Um, but I check my bank account every morning. Start the day looking at my damn money, right?
do.
Like make sure I hit it. Like
That's
the way to go.
solid advice right there. That's
make-
facing.
You make sure it didn't disappear.
I just want to look at it and see how I can get some more zeros at the end of the suckers, man.
Yeah.
That's my
You
intention
really
every
do.
day.
Yeah, I
Well,
think
good.
we're good, man. Yeah, it's controlling that morning. I don't know any successful person that doesn't control their morning. Whether their morning is 10 a.m., it's mostly morning, 4, 5.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, and that's the thing. Like people look like my mornings changed, right? I've always woke up early, but what I used to do is I used to take my kids to school, and then I'd work out. Then I'd be at the office by 9. And now I run. I get out the door. I wake up at 4:15, and I'm out the door running by 5. This morning I ran and worked out. So some days I have to because I don't want to look like a marathon runner. So I actually got to lift some weight and actually keep muscle. So, but so it's okay to change. Like not too many people try to emulate somebody else's morning. Like do whatever morning works for you is what you need to do. Like whatever morning works in your schedule, just be consistent no matter what you're doing. I mean, you talk about winning in business. I mean, consistency, it doesn't matter. You're consistent, you'll win, period. 99% of people are not consistent. That's it.
Yep.
Consistency, you'll win. And whatever
How about
winning,
you, Nick?
whatever winning is, for you, I mean, that's consistency in your schedule is
Yeah.
should be your focus.
Consistency, persistency, that's how you win at anything. How about you, Nick? Do you work out in the morning? You don't, huh?
I used to work out in the morning. I work at 10 a.m. now. 10 a.m. So I do rock it in the morning. I have a strong ritual. I love waking up when I like to wake up. I don't have alarm clocks. I've trained myself to wake up with the circadian rhythm of the sun. In the Northwest, it's a little bit seasonal, but I don't, I sleep 7 hours. I protect my night a lot. I go to bed at 8:39. It's like John. You ever been with Johnny just disappears?
Yeah.
It's like it's time. I protect the night, and that protects my morning.
Yeah.
And I think it starts the night before. And then I'm religious on my diet. my work ethic. And then, because I want to be done at 10, I want to see my daughter when she comes home from school. I want to get my workout in, and then we go from there. So
I hope that all the listeners heard that. Nick McLean is done with his multiple real estate businesses by 10 a.m. during the week.
Until I met you guys. But it didn't start that way, though. People get it twisted. They think that means I don't work a lot. Oh, no. Because I'm consistent. I do it every single day. I haven't taken a day off in 10 years. But that's a choice. And whether it's a day.
You ever been at Disneyland?
No.
You gotta go to Disneyland, bro. Take your daughter to Disneyland.
No.
I don't want to travel.
It's just amazing what you can accomplish compounding over a long period of time. If you just do it totally right. And that's where people fall off. They think they deserve stuff. I deserve a day off. I deserve 2 weeks off. No, it's a loan with a big interest, and I'm not willing to pay that interest payment.
I think that we do an episode. Think about the hook on this on that. How Nick is done with work by 10 a.m.
Until we started working on this podcast with us and everything else we're doing.
Oh, you guys know I'm up early.
I was trying to find a message between the three of us. I think it was sent like 5 days ago, and I had to scroll through like 8,000 messages to find it.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's wrap this thing up.
All right, good. Well, yeah, we'll see everybody on the next episode. Make sure that you like, follow, subscribe. And if you enjoyed the episode, leave a review. That would really mean a lot to us. I would love for somebody to be one of the first reviews that we get. And if you learn something, share it with someone who you think will learn something. That's a great way to give value to your community in the market. Share something that you learned, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, it's the best way to support us. And if I get word from Preston that someone liked it and said we need to do more, then
yeah, I won't tell you that this weekend.
Yeah, well, find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Share it. All right, guys. Anything else, Preston?
All right.
That's it. Good.
See ya.